Good afternoon, everybody. This is Karen Lee Harrington with the Maine Health Data Organization, and I want to welcome you to our Payer Data Submitter Group webinar. I know it's a minute after 3 o'clock, I think. And so, Kate, I'm just going to ask, do we have folks still logging in, or does this look like the stable group?
This looks like a pretty stable group. So, Karen, I think we can get started when you're ready.
Okay, super. So we'll go ahead and get started. I know you're all very, very busy, and so I want to thank you for taking time to join us this afternoon. Just a quick few reminders before we get started. If you could keep your phone muted, that would be great. And submit your questions via the webinar chat function. We will try and address as many questions as we can as we go through the webinar. And then for those questions that we either can't get to or we need to follow up on, we will put in writing and distribute to the entire group. So with that said, if we could go to the next slide. So I'm going to take a minute and walk you through the agenda and specifically the meeting goals. And then I'm going to turn it over to Kate Mullins with our data vendor, Human Service Research Institute, and Kate will talk through a lot of the substantive items in this presentation, and then we will wrap things up and take some questions. So with that said, Kate, if we can go to the next slide. So our real goal here is to make sure that we review with you the changes to Chapter 243 and discuss the validation override resets and the validation updates. And we also want to take a minute and talk about our new rule, Chapter 247, and we'll provide a brief overview and talk about when we're going to get into more details about that specific rule. This is more sort of a preview. And then we'll review some upcoming registration updates and implementation timelines. So on that note, I'm going to turn things over to Kate. And she'll walk you through the next couple of slides.
Thanks, Karen. So I think many of you are probably aware we're making a few changes to Chapter 243, which is the submission of the claims data. There's some changes to existing fields by turning them into placeholders. There are a few fields, and we are also adding some clarifications to data field descriptions, code, sources. The changes will go into effect with the submission of your January 2022 data, which is due by February 28th, 2022. The portal will be available for the submission of those January files no sooner than February 2nd, 2022. So as we mentioned, there are a couple fields that are being changed to placeholder fields. Those are the subscriber HICN and the member HICN. These fields have been discontinued because they've been transitioned to the Medicare Beneficiary Identifier, the MBI. So we'll be making adjustments to expect the MBI instead of the HICNs going forward. Also adding new data fields for a payment arrangement type indicator across all of the claim types. So in the medical claims, pharmacy claim, and dental claim files, with these new indicators are being added. And the goal here is to improve data analysis and being able to provide the type of payment methodology being used at the claim level. These changes also align with requirements in the All Payer Claims Database Common Data Layout. And just, I know the MHDO has received several great questions about these new payment arrangement type indicators. And when we've provided a particular example here that I think will be helpful to folks. So if you're working through what these changes and what your organization will be able to submit in these new fields, we know it may take some time to, again, work through coming up with the granular level, claim level information. And so, should you submit other for records when you don't have a specific code that applies to you. And the short answer is, that we really do not want that code to be used as a catch-all. Payers should notify the MHDO of any payment arrangement types that are not tracked in their claims reporting systems, but are payment types the organizations utilize. And based on the information, the MHDO will help you determine the more effective way to collect that data. So again, just trying to minimize the overuse of this other category. There will be, I'm going to talk through this in more detail. We're including validation rules that will flag if the population of the other field is exceeding 5% of the records. And if it is, you have the opportunity to provide an override explanation. But again, this is something we want to keep an open conversation. We can talk with you about the best way to make use of these new fields. We're also making some changes to existing fields, as I mentioned, adding some clarifications regarding the fields listed here for race, ethnicity, paid amount, and in-plan network indicators. We are adding for race, there's specification to use the first 2 characters of the CDC hierarchical code. For ethnicity, we're adding specifications to report regarding the CDC unique identifiers. And paid amount, there's additional language being added that for capitated claims, folks should be setting that to 0. And again, I think this is all sort of information that had been provided as direction in past years, but now we're just adding some clarifying language as well. Oops. Sorry about that, jumped ahead a little. Next one, again, a kind of a long list of items that we're adding some clarification language to, all related to the service facility location and identification, and really just trying to add language has been added so that if it's not available or not specified, we're asking that you do not populate these fields. And the goal is just to be able to improve the information we have regarding where these services are happening. In addition to the Chapter 243 updates, and there will be some validation override resets happening. The profile and exemption resets will be occurring on February 1st. Submissions that occur after this reset for your January 2022 data and any other data period that's submitted after that date will be evaluated against all the validation rules. New profile and exemption level overrides will have to be requested as needed. I'm sure at this point, many of you are familiar with this process. Again, it's just an opportunity for sort of reset and evaluate the quality of the data that's coming in. There'll also be some validation changes. This detailed list of these validation changes was distributed as part of, I think, this webinar invite, and it also is posted on the MHDO website for claims data submitters. So each new payment arrangement type indicator field will have rules checking the population, the validity, and the rate of other values being submitted. As I mentioned earlier, the expectation for the rule is that we would be flagging the rate of other values if there are more than 5% of the records with the other category specified. And again, as with all the validations, there may be an explanation for this, and we're just asking you to provide that as part of the override process. We have removed the validation rules for subscriber and member HICN, and we've added some rules to enforce blank placeholder fields in their place. We've also added rules to enforce the proper population of the subscriber MBI, and we modified the validation rules for the updated paid amount fields. Again, enforcing that if it's a capitated claim, we're expecting it to be populated with 0. And here is the implementation timeline for Chapter 243. Again, I believe this was distributed to all of you who received this webinar invite. We have already started payer testing of the Chapter 243 and validation rule changes in the test site that's available to you to be working in, submitting test files of the new fields, the new placeholder fields, and also to test out the new validation rules. We're asking that folks take advantage of that testing period by January 11th. It'll continue, the site will continue to be open through the end of January. But again, hoping everybody takes the opportunity to do some testing by January 11th so that there are no surprises when we move over to production. Instructions regarding the annual updates will be emailed out to folks at the end of January. This will include the explanations about the annual registration updates and just a reminder that the exemption and profile overrides will be reset. The last day for files for any period to be accepted in the old Chapter 243 format is January 31st, and files that are submitted on February 1st will just be held for 1 day while we update the production system. Submission of files in the new format begins on February 2nd. Again, primarily this will be January 2022 data, and that's also when the override reset will occur. Annual registration information updates are due by February 28th, and January 2022 data files are due in the new format by February 28th as well. So now I'm going to turn it back to Karen Lee to give some updates on Chapter 247.
Thanks, Kate. So just real quickly, we know that the folks that are on this call may not be the people that will be submitting or preparing the Chapter 247 non-claims based payment data, but we wanted to at least put it on today's agenda to bring it to your attention so that you can discuss this with the appropriate folks within your organization. We also plan on sending a communication to the compliance/regulatory contacts that we have for each of the payers. But so that's why we won't get into all the details, because again, we assume that you may not all be the right folks, but we wanted to give you a heads up, and to the extent that you can share this within your organizations, that would be great. And then we'll also send out a communication. But this is a new requirement that was recently approved by MHDO's Board of Directors, and it is for the collection of non-claims based payment data. Non-claims based is defined in the rule, and I won't read through all of the different examples of what is considered a non-claims based payment. You'll see those listed on the slide. And so those are just some examples, but it's not limited to those items. The rule requires that there be an annual registration for the folks that will be responsible for these data submissions, and that registration is due February 28th of next year. And the first submission of this type of data is not due until August 31st of next year for the period for calendar year 2021. And there is a requirement as part of that submission that there also be an attestation that comes with the submission that is also due on August 31st. I think the next slide lays out the implementation timeline for Chapter 247. And as I mentioned, we will hold a webinar next year in May to review in more specificity the requirements and go through a demonstration of the submission process. And then there'll be payer testing of that process. And then, as we just talked about, the first submission is due in August of next year. So again, not a lot of detail here, but it's coming, and we will send a communication out the first of the year to let the payers officially know. And again, if there are any specific questions that folks have, please either put them in the chat or reach out to us directly, but more to come on this. And Kate, I'll turn it back over to you.
So the next few slides are about the annual registration process. And as Karen mentioned, there is part of Chapter 247 does involve an annual registration update as well. So this piece of the presentation is actually covering both Chapter 243 and 247 requirements. And I know all of you, many of you who have worked with us for many years know that the Chapter 243, what the Chapter 243 registration updates involve. So, and we'll also just show you what the 247 updates will involve. And again, as Karen mentioned, we know that there may be different people that are required to make some of those updates, but and there may be some coordination required within your organization to complete this piece of the joint registration update. So just in summary, the annual registration update involves a review and update of users, review and update of contacts. There will be a new non-claims-based payment contact roles that you'll be able to, again, tell us who the correct people are within your organization to work with this new role. There are also the registration update also involves a review and update of some information in the summary screen. And again, there's a new non-claims-based payment component. And again, as a reminder, we are hoping folks can complete this update by February 28th. So the annual registration updates, as I said, just a little more detail. This needs to happen in February, and there are new requirements for Chapter 247. So this slide covers the new non-claims-based contact types. So each company will need to designate at least one person for each new non-claims-based payment type individual. These individuals will receive important information about upcoming requirements and milestones. So we're asking that organization identifies a administrator, compliance, and submitter contact at minimum. More than one person can have each role, but we're asking, again, just so we know the right people to contact as we move through this new requirement, and work with you all to implement this new role. So the administrator role is responsible for future annual registration updates and managing users and contacts within the portal. The compliance contact is responsible for ensuring that this new non-claims-based data submissions meet requirements and deadlines. And submitters will obviously be responsible for submitting these data. And for those of you that already work in our portal, I think this is all pretty familiar. There's, when you go into the contact screen, you'll be able to just choose these roles from a drop-down menu. Oops. And then again, there's a new section within the summary screen where you specify the types of business that your organization does within the state of Maine, how many lives are covered, et cetera. There's a new non-claims-based payment question. And you'll just be answering yes or no. Do you expect to submit these data? And then if known, we're asking you to indicate the types of non-claims-based payment if you have any from this list. As Karen Lee said earlier, we know this list is not necessarily, there may be others that you may have within your organization, so you can feel free to reach out to us if that's the case. Finally, just quick reminder of the resources available to you. Our help desk is available to answer technical questions related to portal submissions. And for compliance issues, Philippe Bonneau, compliance officer at the MHDO, is available to answer questions about both 243 and 247. And I'm going to pause there and check the chat to see if there are any questions.
I don't see any, Kate.
I think I got one.
Okay,
So
good.
I'll read it. Is there an updated Chapter 243 document that describes the new DC 111 field placement in the file, values allowed, or is it being sent out after the meeting? Believe that the updated version of Chapter 243 should be on the MHDO website, but we can certainly make sure that that's distributed after this meeting, just so you all know where to locate that.
There is another question, Kate, about whether we'll be sharing the deck with attendees. And the answer to that is yes, we'll post it on the website.
Any other questions? Feel free to take yourself off mute as well if you'd like.
It is a quiet group. We'll wait another second. Are there any other questions or comments anybody would like to make before we end this webinar and let folks get back to their crazy busy days?
This is Rosemary Teagarden from Point 32 Health / HPHC Harvard Pilgrim Files. On the new payment arrangement type, if we are able to assign, some of the values, but for certain types of claims, but not all of the claims, then that ends up being an amount that, we would be significantly more than the 5% for other. Should we do a proactive exemption for that, or do we wait till we submit our first files, or how do you want us to handle that?
So are you saying you would, if you don't have information, you would default to other, or are you saying it would actually be?
Yeah, like what should we, yeah. So like if I could identify capitated claims, there is a flag on the claims that's for global claims, but I can't tell you from the claim as it comes out of our claim system whether it was paid DRG or whether it was percentage charged, because it depends on a whole bunch of other factors that are basically like what the claims adjudication system does when it decides how to pay. So all the rules, for that. So we can't like recode our claims adjudication system. We don't have a flag that just stamps it on what the payment decision was for certain types of things. So I can give you some values, but on the others, I don't know what the value would be.
Sure. So if it's truly unknown because you don't have the information, I think we prefer that it be blank versus
null. Okay.
Other.
Okay, so it's either a value that we know of or a null. So null would be accepted, and we'd have to do an exception once. And again, we would wait to do that exemption until we submit the first production file.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Okay.
Just to add to that, Rosemary, in order to avoid the other as a catch-all, and we generally prefer to avoid what we call default values, where everything just winds up going into one of those catch-alls. It was put as a profile rather than an exemption. So what you will be seeking the first time you submit your file is an override, and the profile issues or failures are actually in the hands of the payer to do the override. So when you provide the explanation, you won't need to contact me for an exemption request. As long as you provide an explanation, and in the explanation, we would probably prefer to have the information that was highlighted on the slide. I think it was, what was it? Was it the 5th or 6th, or do you remember which slide, Kate? Right, yeah, right there. So if you provide the explanation of what you have as far as non-claims based payments in the explanation, and then send in the override, it will give us more information about what you have, but what you cannot parse out or identify at this moment.
Okay.
Rosemary, does that make sense? Are you good?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, basically, in the profile, we'll indicate what we can. This is what we can populate. These other types are used, but we can't identify which one is used on the claim. You know, essentially something like that. Correct?
Yeah. And yes, and then what will happen is that, you know, you will probably be able to also identify what you have in general. Like if you have three types, you've got, you know, fee for service and global and capitated, but you don't know which are which or how many of each. You can probably state that and then say that you cannot identify them, send that in. So it's the identification of what you have in your system, as well as, you know, why you can't tell us exactly at a claim level which ones are which.
Okay.
Thank you, Rosemary.
Excellent. Thanks, Phil, for the clarification. All right. Any other questions? Kate, I don't see anything else in the chat. Do you?
No.
Okay. So with that, we will make sure we post the deck that we just went through on the website, so you folks will have access to that. And the information with all of the details with these changes in the rule, that is on the MHDO website. And if anybody has any questions as to where you can find these things, I think most of you know, but please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And on that note, I want to thank you all for attending. Thank you for your attention to all of this and for the submissions that you send to us. This data is so important. It's being used for many, many analyses that are happening in our state, and we really are appreciative for all that you do. We know you have a lot on your plate, and this is one more thing, but we are grateful for your efforts and your attention to these details. And we wish you all a very happy and healthy holiday season. So with that, we'll end this webinar. And again, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.